365 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.
Hi, beautiful people. Like, if you're watching me on the replay, my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on, I talk to people who are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. And the goal behind everything that I do is to help you shift the way you think. I realize, like, we get into the cycle where we find ourselves struggling over and over again. Um, and quite frankly, we need support with getting out of that cycle. So today I have a really special guest with me. Uh, and I'm going to add her to the stream right now. Hello, special guest. How are you today?
Hello, Celestia. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. Can you introduce yourself to my audience?
I'm Lana Tompkinson. I'm the sleep coach, but also I'm the founder of the Sleep Well Clinic for Women. And I work with women, but also when I have men coming in asking for help as well with men, helping them to overcome insomnia, sleep well, and enjoy living a happy and healthier life.
Nice. And so a fun fact about Lana is that she is actually in New Zealand. And
Funny that.
Yes. So today in Boston is Monday and it's late, and where you are is afternoon and it's Tuesday. So
Tuesday, 12 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're actually my first international guest. So
Brilliant.
I gotta get these sound effects. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. This is awesome.
I love being on your show. Yeah, listening to your shows. Yeah.
Thank you. So one of the things that Lana specializes in is sleep. And we know a lot of people are struggling with sleep. So I would love to hear about your journey with sleep. So I'm sure you got into this field because of the struggles you've had with sleep. And can you tell people a little bit about what those struggles were like for you prior to you getting support?
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me to share. That was probably 4 years ago when I found myself in this insomnia rut, when couldn't fall asleep or couldn't stay asleep through the night. It will take me a long time to go to sleep, and then I will fall asleep, and then I wake up every 2-3 hours and find so hard to sleep. I thought, what's going on with me? Couldn't work it out. Tried different, going to the pharmacies, different sleep aid products, different natural stuff, and it's just not working. And
how long was this going on for you? Was it always that way for you?
So it's probably 3 years was going for quite intensely. From time to time, I had periods of insomnia, but it seemed like then got better. But at that time, it was continuously lack of sleep, all the time, waking up tired, going to work. I remember going on Monday to work, just so tired, and I'm thinking, how can I get through my day? How can I just and then again thinking, but then I'm not sure I'll get another night of sleep. And talking to some of my friends, everyone kind of trying different things, tried a bit of some funny things like, have a bit of alcohol that might help you just relax. And maybe taking my husband to his store saying, oh, let's get some wine, maybe that will help.
Well, it'll help you, but then you become another problem that you have.
Another problem. Or the sleep is not as good when you have some alcohol. Right. It's just, it helps you to relax and fall asleep, but then it your sleep is not a good sleep. It's not quality
not.
sleep, very shallow.
Yeah.
You sleep for a few hours and then you wake up again
Right.
so tired, and then
Because
so that wouldn't.
some people are going, they're closing their eyes and going to sleep, but they're not getting in that full sleep that they need. Is I think it's like REM. Is it called REM?
REM sleep, which is our deep sleep,
A lot of
when
people
our
don't get to that
rapid
point.
eye movement,
Right.
when you see most of your dreaming is happening when you have REM sleep. And then I kind of started thinking, why is that? Why I'm not getting sleep? What's the problem? I know I sometimes struggle with racing thought, and my mind, it just doesn't shut down. And I quite often show other people, it's like almost imagines that it's your laptop, or it has so many open tabs, and you just go into sleep. It is just like one thing after another. One thought comes out, and then out from that another thought, and that another thought. It just kind of, and you're lying there and think, when that will end, how can I close my mind and just go to sleep?
That's a very descriptive analogy of that's a real. I seen a meme about that where it had all these tabs opening on the computer. Literally,
Yeah.
that's what people feel like when they're trying to fall asleep, is that all of these thoughts are cycling and cycling. So this is what was happening with you, and I'm sure you was depressed over it, not getting any sleep.
Yes. Yeah, and that would kind of happen because of my insomnia for a longer time. I found it myself kind of in a very dark place. Sometimes your thoughts can take you when you especially haven't slept for a while properly, like maybe 4 or 5 nights. You probably had only a couple of hours of sleep and not deep sleep. Your thoughts, it's really hard to manage them, and you can end up, quite often I hear from people who struggle with insomnia, that their thought can take them in a very dark place, that they can't get out from that. And that part of that, what happens when you're having a good night's sleep, your brain gets rid of all the toxins in your brain, and you feel so much more refreshed. Why you feel like when you had a good night's sleep, you're more positive, you think better, you're more focused, you're more productive, you are just happier to be around people. It's just because your brain is more refreshed. It's got rid of all the toxins. But if you haven't slept, and if you had only a few hours and very bad quality sleep, then you are more prone to anxiety, you're more prone to stress, and you are more negative thinking happen. Your brain is tired. It just can't cope with all the thinking process, and you can't focus very well. So that's why sleep is so important for our thinking, for our cognitive abilities and functions. So that kind of, then my insomnia led to anxiety, which I never had, like panic attacks. And I started thinking, wow, where does this come from? And obviously because of lack of sleep, I started having panic attacks, anxiety, and even to depression. So I had to go to some medication for that for 6
When
months.
when during that time when you started to experience the anxiety and the panic attacks, were you aware that it was related to the sleep during that time, or you realized it later on?
I probably realized a bit later, but
Okay.
yeah, it all sometimes comes like a big snowball. You're just not sure what
Right.
comes first. And it is
Yeah.
quite often, sometimes you have to deal with both at the time anxiety and sleep and insomnia. Because
Mhm.
if you don't deal with your anxiety, you can't fall asleep. And if you don't sleep, then you have more anxiety. So it's just kind
Right.
of like chicken or egg. What are they first?
Right. You're
So that's why you
absolutely
have
right.
tackle them both at the same time, work on your thinking and anxiety, and also improve your sleep.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
looking back, I think, kind of thinking, one of the main reasons for me why I couldn't sleep for very long, couldn't get good sleep, and had insomnia for 3 years, it was more stress. Stress probably was to do more with too many responsibilities, too much work, not allowing myself to rest, to unwind, and running sometimes like busy moms, oh, I can do everything. I can do my work. I've got help in the church. I'll help with the kids. And we had big home where we had so many people quite often coming because my husband worked in the community. So it's like was on the go all the time. And I just didn't give myself rest to get before you go to bed. It's nice to unwind, to kind of get from that state when you're on adrenaline running all day to the state when okay, I'm getting ready for bed, I'm getting my body is resting, my mind is slowing down. Because when you hop into bed after running around like a headless chicken all day, sleep is not happening. It's the last thing.
Yeah, you have to, and I think what Lana is saying is that just because you say like it's dark and it's time to go to bed, if you're not doing anything to prepare your brain to go to bed, your brain is still going and going and going. So that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good thing adrenaline kind of we need it, like getting up in the morning and going through the day. But then when we're going to sleep, we definitely need to work out to make sure that we slow down and we help. And maybe while we're here, maybe I can share a few tips that can help people kind of to help them to slow down, to get from the state of when they are busy and doing work into the state when they are ready for bed, maybe 1 hour or so before going to bed, doing something that they like doing, something quiet, unwinding. Sometimes it's okay watching a movie or TV, but as long as it's probably not too stimulating for others, because if you watch something too scary for you, that you might take too long.
And those are really good tips. And I know some people who will put on like a show that they've watched before that's pretty low key, that have it playing in the background. But doing something that's going to relax you will help your brain say, "Oh, okay, Celeste is ready to go to bed now." Right. But a lot of times we're on our phone or working to the last minute and trying to figure out why we can't sleep. So those are really good tips that you just gave.
Yeah, that's definitely making priority for sleep. I think some people, it just could be the problem. People are not making priority their sleep when they're struggling with sleep, or people are over obsessed with their sleep, and that can be a problem as well, because then they're almost kind of forcing sleep, but you can't force sleep. And so are there a few tips like to slow down, maybe, yeah, as you said, maybe try not to be on your devices an hour before you
Yeah.
go to sleep because of the blue light, but also because of when you're on social media or something, you get engaged where you just saw something and then you see something else and then you kind of comment on somebody's post or something like that.
Right. Before you know it's an
And
hour
hope,
later. I want to
yeah,
say a comment from a watcher on Periscope. She says my stress won't allow me to feel my emotions. I often don't notice when I'm tired or should be tired. I wanted to read that because I feel like that's pretty common where people aren't because we're on autopilot so much, especially in America. I don't know what it's like in New Zealand,
it's the
but
same. Yeah.
it's the same. So because we're on autopilot, I think this is a real accurate statement, is that people don't even recognize when they're tired. They get so used to functioning in that state of mind that they struggle with understanding when it's time. Do you think that's fair to say?
It is fair to say, and I think one of the important things when I learn and I teach others is to learn self-awareness. Actually, that's number one. When you talk to people and teach, yeah, you're just learning, thinking, well, why I'm feeling like that, asking yourself those questions. Are my shoulders a bit tense? Am I kind of a really little bit all my muscles are tense? Am I just my head is spinning around? Just
Yeah.
ask yourself, how do I feel? Why do I feel like that? Did I had a bit of a rest today, a bit of a break, or I had a very unpleasant conversation with someone and it's still on my mind? Just kind of think, what triggered, what
Yeah.
did I do, what is it, why I'm feeling like that.
You
Do you
know,
agree with it?
yes, I love self-awareness so much. And I love how you're telling people to notice their body. I tell people a lot of times our body's giving us signs before
Yeah,
it hits up here. And for me, it's literally like I hold pain, I hold everything in my body. So as soon as I'm tensed up, I'm like, Celeste, what's going on? I have to have a
yeah,
conversation with myself. So that is so accurate and on point. I love that.
yeah. It was funny that because I didn't notice my shoulders quite very often, and till only once I had the massage, and the lady said, was doing massage, what's going on? Why are you always holding your shoulders up like that? I said, Oh yeah, it's just because you're always kind of on the go.
You don't even know it. Like you had
You
another
don't even
person have
know.
to tell you. That's
And
exactly what happened with me. That is so funny.
and I think for us, I think children now a bit more aware. We teach them more at school, like about emotions and recognizing your emotion. But I think for us a bit older, we maybe missed it being taught at school, or think so asking yourself, how do I feel? Like even if you go to counseling, you think they would ask you one of the first questions, how do you feel? And you think, why are they asking me such simple question? But don't very often people are just not aware of how do they feel and don't label like I feel sad maybe because of such and such thing, or I feel so frustrated. Once you kind of name what it is, how you feel, then you kind of know what to do next. Easier to learn once you recognize. So that's a really good question about emotions and to know. Yeah.
So,
Diary, writing, journaling
oh
is a
yes, it's so good, so
journal
good.
how kind of your day went, or why you didn't sleep, what maybe triggered your insomnia, your sleepless night. Say maybe I stayed too late, or um, I had an argument with my husband,
It
and
could
I
be
couldn't go
literally
to sleep.
anything.
Yeah,
Yep,
or
it
with my
literally.
teenagers, I just kind of had to deal with something late at night, and it was still on my mind. Or I ate very late dinner. That could be too. Maybe just noticing what's going on, why you might be not sleeping. Self-awareness is actually number one. If people start learning and noticing what things trigger their
Yeah, that's
sleepless
good.
night.
So
Yeah.
now your friends are giving you these, some people are giving you some weird advice, get some alcohol. And then, I mean, it'll put you to sleep, but not the sleep you want. You want the good sleep, not that sleep. And then, depression and anxiety kicks in, you start getting support for that. Now, when did the cycle change for you where you were able to start beginning to get some sleep?
Yeah, I have to do quite a bit of work on myself and my noticing, as I said, noticing what triggered action. Then I realized, yeah, okay, I needed to rest a bit at daytime. I can't just run on adrenaline all day, and it just putting time to rest and maybe unwind in the evening. Started journaling my thoughts and noticing, well, actually, why I'm thinking that. Where did this come from? That how does this come? Why I am anxious about that, or something maybe from the past, kind of some negative thinking. Noticing, actually, it's amazing when you actually journal and write down those thoughts. They don't seem as big, they don't seem as scary, they don't seem as they in easier kind of to reframe them, because when they're in the hand it's kind of a bit harder. So I think when people really struggle with that, it's best to start with writing them down.
Yeah.
um
And if we go back to your example of your brain, and people have computers and they know all the tabs. So imagine trying to make sense with all of these tabs opening, right? Which is why when you write it down, you can remove it from all of those tabs and then say, okay,
yep.
this is what's happening right here. Like this makes sense. And she is so right. When you put it on paper, the amount of intensity and the stress that that situation may feel like won't feel the same because it's not surrounded by all those other tabs. That's really good.
Yeah, and as you mentioned again, that as a tab, and if you kind of open one tab, maybe think if it is a problem, or if it is something, maybe jot down what can you do about that. Because when your brain knows what you can do, or you look for some solution for that, where you can ask for help or what you can do, then it's just less stressing you out. It's so you can close slowly one tab at a time, like that. You're thinking,
Yes.
okay, this is stressing me out. Maybe my relationship with my spouse or something like that. What can I do about that? How could you work on it? How we, or where you can look for help? Always like with your health, the same way you can look for some resources for your help, for your health. What do you do about that? Or maybe you need to change some of your diet or lifestyle or something. But once you kind of work out some of the strategies how you can deal with that, problem you're having and why you're thinking it, your thought going over and over and over again, then you kind of think, okay, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow about that. Now it's not time to think about that. And it's
Yeah.
quite often, I suggest it's rather to do it actually being proactive, doing it at daytime rather than waiting until you go to bed. And when when it's dark and it's quiet and you're left alone with your thoughts, that's when thoughts are kind of keep coming. And that's when you struggle most. But if you dealt with your thoughts, for example, you let aside some time, maybe I think at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if I have time, I'll just sit down and write down what's on my mind or what's been going on now in my life and why I might be thinking too much. And then if you write down and think of some strategies, then when you go to bed, you can remind yourself, I thought about that this afternoon. I know what I'm going to do. And now it's time to go to sleep.
I love it. And I also love how, what you're doing is putting power into people's hands so that they can create a plan for it. A lot of times it's like, I'm overwhelmed, right? Like people like, come on. Okay, I'm overwhelmed because a lot of times we just put a period. I'm overwhelmed. And then we just have all these tabs open and then like nothing happens. But I'm like, imagine if we, instead of putting the period, we put a comma. I'm overwhelmed because, right? I feel anxious because if you don't do the because, if you don't do the but I also can do X, Y, and Z, if you don't add that extra,
Yeah.
you're going to be consumed with that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you just described it, if people actually like dealt with it one situation at a time, they can actually start to create a plan to help them deal with the issue at hand. So the power is in our hands if we really put in the work for it.
Yeah, you're right. I think quite often it's very important to explain why you feel like using the word because when you're writing, or I understand why it's happening, or because it's like you are reassuring your mind, your brain that
Yes.
you know what's going on. We're not out of control here.
Yeah. I'm gonna start saying that. I never said that, but you're right. We are reassuring our brain that it's gonna be okay. If we don't work on reassuring our brain's gonna be like, we're in crisis mode all the time. But if we don't, if we, yes, I love that. I'm gonna say I got it from you, but I'm gonna start using it because I really like it a lot.
No, Stephen mentioned that. He mentioned you like that because I've got really lovely picture of, because it's our amygdala that keeps us, sometimes puts us into a fight and flight mode quite often when you um, it protects it in a way. The part of our brain, amygdala, that is gray area, and it's some scientists believe that it's not kind of developed, but it's there for the reason to protect us. Like if there is a danger or something, like before it's a tiger in the woods and it just say run, so your body in an instant got ready to run because your muscle, your heart beating is fast, you're sweating and things like that. But that's when you need some time. So it's like a car and you need to rush out of that. So amygdala is important, but quite often amygdala in high alert when things like we are something about tomorrow, we're thinking you're meeting a deadline or some finances, I think, and we're just triggering our amygdala, which is we need to learn to calm down amygdala. I always say it's almost like smoke alarm in the house, your amygdala. So if there is a fire, then amygdala goes beep, 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 danger, run out of the house. But quite often it's just a burnt toast. And you need to tell your amygdala, calm down. It's just a burnt toast. Everything under control. I know what we're going to do about that. Okay. I need to finish that project tomorrow. I'll do it. But I don't need to worry about now about this. I'm going to bed.
See, you just gave me another one to use. I'm gonna use that. I love that
Go
so
for it.
much.
Go for it. I heard from someone else. Don't you worry. I
That
can't
is
even remember.
good. We are literally, and I think that, your house burning down versus a burnt toast, like that
Yes.
analogy is perfect for, because we can put a new bread in, right? We can create a plan. We can clean up the toast, right? But a lot of times our system is reacting as if like everything is wrong when everything is not wrong. Like I think like the more we educate ourselves around these terminologies and understand the way that our brain operates, it'll reassure us that we actually can create change within our system. So many people have been living with insomnia for so long that they just say like, this is just what it is. I just don't sleep. And I'm like, no, like that can't. I'm like, no, like that can't be the only answer. Like there has to be another way. Like we weren't created to not sleep.
Yeah. And I think quite often what people think about their sleep and what they do about their sleep, that makes it worse. Because people, yeah, it's very important to understand that people, you can't force sleep. You just can do everything, do your ideal environment, create ideal environment for your sleep to arrive. But as long, when you start thinking or emphasizing too much on your sleep, then again you'll be thinking, I think, why I can't go to sleep, why I can't sleep. People
Ah.
develop sleep anxiety because they do too much to prepare themselves for sleep. But sleep
Ah.
is welcome when you don't think about sleep so much, but when you are welcoming. So for example, kind of doing an example for you, people sometimes would say, okay, if I struggle for sleep for too long, I might go to bed too early. They go to bed too early. They stop going and doing things like normally you go being activities, go socialize and think, I haven't slept last night very well. I'll go home and try to go to bed early. But that's probably the last thing you want to do, because you go to bed early and will be lying there anxious in bed, not able to fall asleep, because first of all, it's not the right time. Your body probably is not ready, and also you're thinking too much about sleep because you want to sleep, but sleep comes when you don't think about it. It's rather best to say, I'll go and rest, and then sleep more easily will come than just thinking I need to go to sleep. So there is a balance there. You need to kind of remove things that disrupt your sleep, but also not to force your sleep, because then kind of it gets, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that you're saying to try to work on making sure you're creating the environment where you're not so focused on I can't sleep, instead of let me like do this and let me do that, like put these tools in place, let me just write about my day. Once we start putting these measures in place and working on our environment, like not, it doesn't have to be your actual environment, but the way that you're operating on a everyday basis, you can work on changing the way the sleep looks for you.
Yeah, and quite often it's things what you do, your lifestyle. It's probably maybe it's better to put more emphasis on your healthy lifestyle,
Yes.
exercise and getting fresh air, socializing, relaxation, also quite important, especially now we quite often run on adrenaline, very often on autopilot, so it's nice. But it's not thinking that this is kind of will provide me sleep. This kind of thinking, I need to live a healthy lifestyle to function well, to be healthy, and then sleep comes at it, because we are meant to sleep. We're all meant to sleep. It's not something you need to do extra. We need to kind of make sure we are doing the right thing. And quite often, you need to start thinking about sleep in the morning, not when you go to bed. Kind of how you do your morning. Again, morning routine is very important.
Yes.
How do you get up? Do you practice gratitude and what being thankful for the day and looking forward to spending time with your loved ones and doing the work you love doing, or you will be already thinking about sleep, you
I love
know?
this. No, I love that, and I think you're right. It's a lifestyle, and I would say we're self healers. But there's so much over the years has changed, and so much has been added. TV, internet, like all these things, and I think that we have just become so distracted. Sleep is. We're talking about sleep today, but it's with everything that we're doing. Like I think the idea of a healthy lifestyle, because one of the things I've asked my clients over the years, which I've learned, food, moving your body, and sleep. So, and a lot of therapists aren't really, we're they're focused more like on like your anxiety or how you're feeling. But for me, I'm always checking in with these three things because these are the three things that we can work on having control over, right? I can't help if trauma comes into my life, if something happened, but I can work on, how am I eating? Am I moving my body? And what is my sleep like? And I think these three things contribute
I
so
might add it
greatly.
also water hydration.
Yes, yes.
Because 80% of our brain is water. Even notice when you start your thoughts are getting a bit more depressed or you kind of feel a bit sluggish and tired, drink some water and you'll notice immediately a change in your brain.
And I think that like, I always say this about my country is that like I feel like we just treat symptoms. We don't get to the root of the problem. Like I don't see commercials that talk about this stuff about how's
No.
your sleep, how like especially for sleep. For sleep stuff, I only see medications being advertised. I don't see anything else. And I think that, we really have to work on changing the way we look at because we want immediate gratification. I originally asked you how you were able to overcome insomnia. You said I had to do a lot of work, and I think that a lot of times we want things handed to us like right now, and a lot of times it's our habits, it's our routines, and a lot of our habits and the routines are the way that our culture is set up, but we don't have to do everything the way that our system like in the environment that does it that way. We can actually create our own routines that work for us, but we have to understand what that looks like.
Yeah, and people kind of been committed and wanted to learn, and it's making lifestyle changes. And yeah, sometimes looking at yourself a little bit from a distance, holistically thinking, what's going
Yes.
on here in my life? What do I need to change?
Yes.
In terms of the health and eating, as you said, and
Hmm.
quite often can be because our gut gets very important what you eat, because it's where lots of our hormones are produced, serotonin and other hormones that in the gut. So obviously, if it's not a healthy gut, sometimes that could be a reason also for sleepless nights or insomnia.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah,
So we talked about your journey and then what you had to do. As far as the reasons from your experience why people struggle, we talked a lot about our thoughts, our negative thoughts, and really working on reframing them. We talked about the way that we prepare for sleep at night. Are there any other top reasons why you have found people have struggled with a lack of sleep?
I think anxiety, stress, one of the main reasons. But then because people are not addressing that, but trying to fix maybe their sleep with
Oh,
medication and
okay.
starting over getting obsessed with their sleep and looking for trying one thing and then another thing, and then they keep going in the vicious circle. And then even the way they talk to themselves about sleep, if you start talking to yourself like saying, I'm a bad sleeper, why I never can get a proper sleep, when will this end, this is so unhelpful, because your brain starts associating your sleep time, your bed, with very negative thinking, and you go to bed
Yeah.
and you're in this state of arousal because your sleep now associated with anxiety. And this is one of the kind of sometimes hardest part, to retrain your brain how you think about your sleep. And quite often people come and tell me, oh, I'm tired and I'm going to sleep, and all of a sudden I'm completely awake. Well, because you trained your brain to think that it's danger. Your sleep now is like, because every time all the negative thoughts you've been telling yourself about sleep, now when you go to sleep you start feeling that way, and you can't fall asleep for a very long time. And that kind of, very often you have to deal with retrain your brain and your behaviors. Like if you're staying in bed for too long, awake and start feeling anxious, bit to get up, do something, just read a book, have a herbal cup of tea or something like that. When you start feeling sleepy, go back to to sleep. So don't stay in bed anxious. It's best to not associate your bed with anxiety. So you need to break that chain. And but that kind of very often, and while it insomnia goes for years and years, because like if it's something triggered, sometimes even one of the my women said that when she had a cold or something like that, that triggered, she had some poor sleep, and then she started worrying about not sleeping, starting researching, looking. And it means when you're researching, looking, you're reinforcing that I am struggling with insomnia, I can't sleep. And then you're trying one thing and then another thing, and then you talk negatively to yourself about sleep, and
That
then you're
I
getting
never thought
yourself
of.
deeper into the hole.
Yeah, I never thought about that. And it makes a lot of sense because I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. So I'm big on the way that we think about things. And so if you're telling your brain that, oh my gosh, I can't sleep, and you're consistently talking about sleep in a negative way, you're saying that your brain will begin to associate it. And you could become obsessive with just finding out, what do I need to sleep? How can I sleep? And then the
That's
original
what
issue is not
people like,
resolved.
if like so obsessed, they say, okay, I'm not going out tonight because I need to get more sleep. And then you kind of reinforce in your brain saying, okay, I'm not sleeping, I need to make more extra time for sleep, or
Yeah.
I'm not doing that or something. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually a good point. I'm sure somebody's listening today is going to be like, "Wow, that's me. That's what I've been doing."
Or
Uh,
sometimes people would sleep in on the weekend, like if they really struggle during the week, and then on the weekend they would stay, maybe sleep till 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Quite often I hear that from my clients, and I'm like thinking, well, your body, you need to build some routine. Certain hours you go to sleep and build your circadian rhymes. You need to have to go to sleep. When you sleep, you wake up at the same time. In that way, your body knows, okay, it's time to get up. It's time to build the sleep drive. It's almost sleep drive. I explain it's a bit like you stretch the elastic, and the elastic is between the hours. The longer you are awake, you get up earlier and you go when you're sleepy. And if you're active, this stretch, your drive gets stronger. It means you are sleep appetite is stronger when you go to sleep.
and
So staying active
yeah.
and being out of bed for longer, that kind of builds your sleep drive. So yeah,
And what you're saying is important because our brain actually loves structure. I remember when the pandemic started, and I was talking to my clients and people on the podcast about the importance of still creating some type of routine for your brain, because that's what your brain kind of thrives off of. So definitely, the idea of trying to create a system for yourself, especially sleep, or with everything, if you want to live intentionally, if you want to eat better, like routine and systems are really good. Like, again, we're self healers. Like, we can really work on changing the way that we're operating if we actually look at what we're doing and stay committed. Like you said, I think it requires a form of commitment.
hmm, yeah. Starts with self-awareness and committed, and you do need to learn, and you need to be open, have open mind,
Mhm.
but not being in a state when you're actually desperate. You know what I mean? There's kind of fine balance. When you're learning, you're open to learn, you want to make changes, but you're not feeling you're doomed because you can't sleep. It's like, yeah.
I know. Now, you work with women. Tell people a little bit about your practice and what you do, because I think it's important for people, like, especially because you understand their story, you understand what it's like. I've never struggled with insomnia, but I've
Good,
spoken
good.
to. I know when my
Brilliant.
clients are telling me they don't sleep, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, because I understand how important sleep is to function during the day.
Yeah.
I had a client say, I need to get back to, like, I haven't slept first. I haven't slept in a couple weeks. And then she's like, but I need you to help me. Like, I'm trying to get back to doing X, Y, and Z. I said, whoa, 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 let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to that. I haven't slept in 2 weeks, because I can't help you with anything if you're not sleeping. Like it just isn't going to work. So tell people a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
So I think it's what we talked a little bit when I work with women, and just we try to get to the bottom of the core issue, why they're not sleeping. What is it? Is it they're got too much stress or anxiety? What can we prioritize? And then also look at their lifestyle. What is their sleep habits? Do they make priority? Do they relax? Do they eat well? Do they drink? Do they exercise, get active? So it's just looking at everything. But I think the main thing, how is your thinking about sleep? Do we need to change that and into positive and helpful thinking? And just step by step looking at everything, because it's nothing is turn every stone and thinking kind of sometimes even for women could be hormone imbalance, or that maybe they would need to, I would think, say maybe just you need to check with your doctor, do some blood tests, maybe you've got hormonal imbalance or some other things. But yeah, just thinking, even sometimes we found with some clients, if they're very low in vitamin D, that can help. And you probably heard that it's actually very good for depression. People who struggle with depression and anxiety also could be that very low vitamin D, which is even sometimes if you're on the borderline, I would recommend people checking their vitamin D and probably topping it up, because quite often that makes a huge difference already. And some supplements. And if people had stress for a long time or look like that, what maybe kind of to boost your immune system or help you out, I might recommend that as well.
And I love, when I talk to coaches, I think, you're coming from a holistic standpoint and you're acknowledging, like, what, it could be hormonal, it could be something else, but it also could be X, Y, and Z. But I don't think a lot of times doctors aren't really talking about the other stuff. As women, we literally, like, my husband can have a cold and life is over, right? I can have a cold of the flu and I'm still doing everything because I think we just naturally, no offense to guys who may be able to do it as well. I just think a lot of times women, we just kind of jump into action really quick.
Yeah.
And don't recognize, like, oh, like, did I take care of myself today? And then find ourselves in this cycle of like consistently doing and not recognizing, like, we got to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. And sometimes even women might realize what it is, but actually not doing anything. Because I was talking actually to a guy last weekend, and he struggled with insomnia. And I said, he said, I know, but I am actually not doing it. I know what I need to do. I said, and sometimes even giving people a hand, okay, this week maybe try to work on this, put into place, and then next week those steps, and being consistent, very important as well. Yeah. But people only when they need help to overcome insomnia, they need
You're right.
a lot of help. Yeah.
And you can, like, even though people may know what to do, I think having a coach guiding you, because I talk to a lot of people who know what to do, but the doing part, like, it's kind of like the accountability piece can be there when you have somebody that can help you, like, hold yourself accountable. I think it's great.
Yeah. And it just maybe giving more support, thinking you're doing the right thing, and here maybe something else to introduce. And because some things will work for some people, something wouldn't work for others, so it's just like we're all so different, and just how to deal with stress, and helping with other strategies as well.
Yeah, this is good. Now, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, wow, this is amazing, what would you say, like, if they've been struggling with insomnia, what would you say, like, what would you recommend for them to start doing today?
That's good. Making sure just that's easy things to do, but getting up at the same time, going to bed when you're sleepy, making sure you are exercising, getting outdoors, getting some 30 minutes, 40 minutes, a bit of fresh air, walk or any exercise they like, eating healthy on time. And if they have anxiety or stress, and probably dealing with it, not letting it kind of get on top of them. Yeah, that's probably
And
one of the main things.
And you see, Lana she brings up anxiety a lot because anxiety is such a huge issue and that people struggle with that affects the sleep. But anxiety is also something that people can work on.
Yep.
And so, like, I think it's so important that we get to the root of the issue because it's not the sleep, it's what happened before the sleep. The sleep is the
Yes, that's right.
is
Yeah.
is the effect of you not dealing with the root of the issue. But
Mm-hmm.
here we give you medicine for the sleep, but we don't get to the root of the issue. Then like it's just a crap show the way it operates, and I get so frustrated about it. But that's why I got this podcast, and I get people like you that can come on and like make me know that I'm like I know what I'm talking about, because I'm like, is it just me who see this messed up system? So
No. Yeah, and that's the thing why I started doing helping when I got training in sleep, and also I have nursing background and teaching. And I looked around, and my friend ended up in psychiatric hospital because of insomnia. And then another few women I thought struggling with insomnia. I thought, well, that's not right. That shouldn't be like that.
it shouldn't be like that. And
It shouldn't be like that. Yeah.
when I worked in the emergency rooms, and I'm dealing with people like that are experiencing some psychosis and some really like major mental health symptoms. The number one thing that they talk about, they haven't slept in days, they haven't slept in weeks, or the family members, they've been up all night, they're not sleeping. So sleep can really affect your brain makeup, the way you're thinking, the way you're functioning. Like you can't function properly when you're not sleeping. So for people listening to this, and you may not even thought deeply about how much not sleeping deflects from your functioning level, maybe
Mm-hmm.
now you can really work on like, let me start looking at my day and how I'm navigating it, so that I
Yeah.
can like work on better sleep.
Yeah. No. Sleep is just for important for everything in our relationship and for cognitive functions and for happiness. It's like I know women who struggle when I work with them with insomnia, and I say, "You just want to feel normal. I want to feel, um,
I know.
yeah, energized and feel energy in the morning. Yeah, that's
Yes.
another thing. You feel really less energy when
Yeah.
you like sleep. Yeah.
Well,
So just
I'm so grateful for you being here and sharing. I've never actually specifically just talked about sleep. So I was so happy that you were on today, because this is something that affects so many people around the world, and I know things that affect people, they'll just chalk it up to this is just how it is. And I'm hoping with our conversation today, people can have a different outlook on what their life looks like and how they can work on navigating it, just from changing some of their habits and their behaviors that they're utilizing. But that self awareness is so huge. I love that so
it
much.
is huge. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think once we kind of start noticing those things and making small changes, they can start small changes.
They add up. I
And
promise you, they add up.
they do. Compound effect.
Yes, yes. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you so, so much for being here. For people that are listening to this, if you go to the sleepwellclinicforwomen.com, you can find more information. You have a guided course if people want to work with you, but you also have a self guided way for
Yeah,
people
I'm
if they
working on
wanted to
that
work.
people can do the course themselves. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Is there anything else that I missed that you wanted to bring up?
No, we just covered quite a lot.
This is what I do. I've been doing this for a while. This is my 300th episode,
You
304
did
episode.
very well guiding
Thank
through different.
you. No, but I was legit. I was so excited to like have this conversation, because
Yeah.
when I talk about like depression, like I've struggled with depression. Like when I'm talking about something I never struggled with, but I know people struggle, I get really happy because I'm like, oh, I have an expert that can like help me have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's not something I can say like, oh, I get it. So that's why I'm just grateful for you.
Yeah. No, I loved being here because I know listened to your other podcast, and I think I was thinking and changing the way we think. It's just so important, so crucial. we can avoid lots of mistakes or things like, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. I got a listener in New Zealand. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Celeste, for having me. See you.
I hope you have a good, I was going to say night, but good day because you're.
Good day, and you have a good night. And I'm glad you sleep well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love her. So thank you all so much for listening. If you're new to this podcast, it's an audio podcast that you can find streaming on all podcasting platforms. So until next time, I will talk to you all later.
It is 65 days, but I treat every day like it's my last. I'm only concerned with building on the future, cause I can't change my past. Positive vibes for positive lives. She just giving you that truth and shifting your mind. It's more mental than you realize. It's up to you to take control, cause this world is cold and negativity gon' take its toll. Now we've been told any day could be your last. I'm embracing every moment and I cherish every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with